like if you well, here's the other thing. Like if you're gonna kill somebody, like think about it a little bit more. And you can't want anything out of it. And welcome to the PARAcast. Since we just started recording, that's the first line for YouTube. There we go. Go ahead.
All I all I know, and I've told this story like a ton of times to people, but like and when I was in high school, me and my friends were watching Forensic Files and that stuff.
Oh
We
yeah,
tried. We spent so long trying to figure out how to successfully get away with a murder. You can't. You can't. It's just way too hard. I mean,
what?
there's so much dumb luck that you never think about. You know, that guy who had to pee at 3 in the morning, who walked in front of his window and watched you, murdering your wife. Dumb shit like that you
Yeah,
never think about.
yeah. And all the Ring doorbells and everything. Like you could probably get away with one, but it's not going to be anything that you want to do because it's just got to be a stranger killing right
Oh
now.
yeah.
And I have a hard enough time not giving the Walmart cashier $20 when I leave. But like, let alone, but like, if there was somebody I wanted to off, it's like, well, the problem is all the people that you really want dead are the people
Hmm.
that you're closest to, and they call that family. Welcome to the Paracast. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez. Joining me tonight, owner of the new Cajun Gunworks steel-toed cleats, Robert Wyatt.
Hey, if you act now, our pro package will install those cleats just for you in time to ND into your foot.
So let's
Bless your
let's
little heart.
let's hop right into this. So the hot talk is that there was a shooter. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the shooter, where the shooter was, but I've seen the breakdown of what might or might not have happened as he was going for a draw on a CZ Shadow 2 NCO with the hammer down, and possibly, well, he did discharge the gun, or the gun discharged and struck one of the toes in his shoes, the tip of the
Yeah.
toe.
What'd they say? It took his big toe or something? Yeah, his big toe. Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, the video is not super great, but this
It's
isn't
it,
it's not a 320, right? There is no world that exists where a Shadow 2 in carry optics configuration, so hammer down in the holster, will go off without you touching
well,
that trigger. It doesn't exist.
the here's my counterpoint, and I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm just saying that this is my brain. The Shadow 2's most dangerous configuration is hammer down, because lots of people like to run extending firing pin. So if you throw your hand down and the thumb of yours hits the back of the hammer and you have a soft primer and extended firing pin, you can discharge the gun. On the Shadow 2, if the safety's on and the
No,
hammer's back,
no. Actually, I'll push back on that one. But,
okay, push back.
continue your argument, but I'll push back. Okay, um, so I've done the test where I've taken a Shadow 2 hammer, and I've been curious, how far does the hammer actually have to be back in order for it to ignite that primer? And so I take it back to half cock. Half cock won't do it.
Yeah.
Like when you go half cock and then say halfway in the throw, you have to be right out halfway to a little bit beyond to reliably light off most primers. And so there's two points that you have to kind of get into. The first one is that I actually have a theory on this, and the problem with the extended firing pin is not so much the extended firing pin as it is that people run a lighter weight hammer spring itself, because what's happening is when you run a really lightweight hammer spring, the hammer itself is actually sitting on the firing pin. And so when it gets bumped, it acts like a Newton's cradle, the ball thingies
Yeah.
that you yeah, it acts like a Newton's cradle and it sends it forward. However, in its correct configuration, with enough weight on that hammer spring, the hammer's actually going to be sitting on the retainer plate. So there's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah.
And
But
so
there
I,
is
I don't I don't think you cannot with your hand put enough pressure um, enough pressure into that hammer, even if it was like sitting forward. You cannot put enough pressure into that hammer and have that chain of events happen. It just doesn't. I've tried it, and I have to hit it really really hard um, to get it to even do anything. And even then, I'm hitting it with a mallet. I did a video on it. It was back on our old Instagram page, showing how you could make it happen. But It just doesn't. I don't see that one, Tommy.
Yeah, I would say if you have the light firing pin spring, you have an extended firing pin, you have a hammer that's completely out the rest, resting on the extended firing pin. That is it likely? No. Could you, if you were coming down from a position on your hand, like your hand weighs a lot, your arm weighs a lot, and if you're able to hit the back of that hammer and generate enough force, you could possibly set it off. Now, this is like we could just sit there and like Robert could put an extended firing pin on and put the like Robert has all the parts to do this, and we could just like slap the back of a gun in a safe and on a vise, and then see if that thing detonates. Because that's I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying like this is the most plausible excuse I can come up with a hammer down CZ Shadow 2 in a holster, because like people are like, "Oh, it's a scoop draw." It doesn't even look like it moves that much to even expose the trigger guard. And if it
I saw another. I saw, and I'm with you on that. It didn't look like it moved hardly at all. But there was another video that somebody like did a super slowdown, and they're like, you can see that he is. You can see that that gun is coming up at the moment that it fires, and so it's like, did he get his finger in there and start like? Did he come in, grab it, and he starts like reflexively pulling on that trigger as it's coming up, and that chain of events of trying to like to grab onto everything caused it to go off?
I
I don't
That's
know.
that's hard for me too, because even a sporty CZ75 Shadow 2 double action trigger might be 5.5 pounds, and the gun, the most you can probably get one of those to weigh, like no one's kicking them around at 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So like there should be enough room inside the double action trigger that somebody could pick it up or even scoop it by the double action. I mean, not crazy hard, but could hold it by the double action and not set it off. Like this VP9, like
Yeah,
I
if
gotta bounce
I
that
know
thing.
I actually know what you're saying. So if I put a light, like what is it, the 9 or 8 pound whatever spring in there, and I held the gun, the problem is it'll rotate on you. But if I held the gun just like this and started like just started bouncing it, I can get the gun to half cock pretty easy. But I'm really, really, really having to like just jam on it to get it, and that's not what he did in the video.
You would have to the hammer would have to full stroke. So
It really would.
and
It just because even if he could get it, even if and on the pickup, I kind of think based on that one video that he probably, as the scoop draw, he probably got his finger into the trigger and started reflexively closing to snatch the gun, and that pulled it. Because even if you only went halfway and let off, it would go to half cock, assuming that the sear hooks are the hammer hooks and sear hooks are
that's
all
yeah.
there, right? But Cajun Gunworks did the work on it, so I generally think they do good work on their own stuff. I don't have any reason to think I don't particularly like a lot of the products, but I think they do fine work on their own stuff. But I my best guess is that when he was grabbing that thing up, he got his finger in there and probably actuated that trigger, because I just don't know how you can do it any other way. I don't put much stock in the hitting the hammer. You have to put a lot more weight, like inertia weight
Yeah.
into the back of that hammer to really get it to do something. Um, and like certainly a lot more weight than just your hand hitting it. Like even right now, I try and hit it with this. Rory, actually, this is cool. Rory made me a red dummy gun for
Yeah.
our indoor matches. Um, I try hitting it here, and that beaver tail is so much in the way. You would just be getting just the worst draw of your life to even.
You would really have to miss it. I mean, it
Oh, and actually think about it, Tommy. He's doing a scoop draw.
correct.
He wouldn't be coming down on it if it was my draw where I come down on top of the gun. A scoop draw is coming up from underneath it, so he's not going to hit the back of the hammer in that way.
I mean, we all can really miss a draw, or like if the hands start low, or
Oh, I got to tell you what happened at the match yesterday.
I just like he's shooting CO, right? I
Yep,
couldn't remember if there was a mag. If he's shooting CO and the hammer's down, like there is very few
I looked.
possibilities on what it could be. And
Yeah,
pulling It's hard to do even in dry fire. Like, it's not a race holster. Go get yourself a regular bucket type holster. Get your double action pistol and see if you can get your finger in there, pull the whole double action trigger that fast with only moving the gun maybe an inch. Like,
I
it's
just I don't know how that happens. Yeah, I it's I mean, assuming that your finger I mean,
unless
my best guess is that that gun came up slightly and he got his finger into it and actuated the trigger on the scoop.
yeah,
That's my best guess, but I because it's the only thing that I can even think of that makes sense.
I mean the craziest thing that you could have is you could have something that was keeping the firing pin in the protruded position and that it was mostly there, and then once the gun got jostled, the firing pin detonated the cartridge. Because you wouldn't really see this, because the firing pin block should stop that kind of movement if there was something in there that was causing that. But the CZ Shadow 2 does not have a firing pin block, so unless you start with the firing, like, hammer down, maybe the firing pin's in a compressed position, it starts with the primer mostly punctured or pushed, and then the slight jostle of it sets the gun off. That's what I can like. If he gets his finger in there and
Yeah,
pulls it
that's
too, like, there's something mechanically wrong, devil's lottery with that pistol and with its setup or whatever like that, and that's what caused it. Because hammer's not cocked,
if you
firing
go
pin.
back yeah, if you go back and you watch, you know, it's we don't post on that thing very much anymore, but if you go back and you watch the old Instagram that was on the Paracast Instagram page, there's 2 videos that I made. One of them had the Rammy spring, the lightweight, the ultra lightweight thing, and I took just a standard armorer's hammer, the little teeny tiny hammers, and I just I lightly whacked it. I didn't hit it very hard at all, and it went off. The primer detonated. And then the next video, I had a standard stock firing pin, um, and everything else was all the same. And I put that in, and I whacked that, and I hit it, I hit it, and I hit it, and I was putting as much weight as you reasonably would want to put into a gun like or into it from that hammer. It never went off.
Yeah.
And to prove that it hadn't gone off, I then pulled the trigger and the primer detonates. So it was obviously a real primer. And so the amount for me, the hammer hitting the firing pin would be more valid if he came down over the top. That I could get behind that. Like, okay, let's take that argument. Where he's coming from underneath, he's really not actuating anything on there, and the amount of pressure that he could put into that into that hammer, the hammer itself, I just can't get there. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I want to like be really open to like, hey, it could be anything in the world. That one I just can't. I can't seem to get there on that one.
Well, Robert, you're the only man with the means, the time, and all the Shadow 2s and Shadow 2 parts that you could, like, if you could take 30 minutes today and configure a Shadow 2 in the most unsafe position possible and just slap the back of the hammer and disqualify it. And you could probably set one up with the double action in a light enough position that you could probably see if you could scoop draw even in slow motion to discharge the gun within an inch. Like, I
I
mean,
could try this. You just get a prime case, throw it in there. But I'd have to find something that I could scoop draw. Andy does the scoop draw thingy, and he's a big advocate for it and stuff like that, which is fine. I've never, for some reason, to me, the Shadow 2 doesn't lend itself to a scoop draw. I think it's because it's got the big beaver tail.
yeah.
I know people do it. It's a me problem. I can't do it, but um, I've seen people play with it. I don't understand the value of it, honestly.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Anything that's not weird. I went out there and I talked to you guys last week about getting a PDP or an echelon or whatever like that. And so on Saturday after work, when I
I'm
had been
proud
awake
to
for,
report.
I had 15 hours. I was up all night working, and then I went over to the gun store and I said, "Let me see, sir, a PDP SD. Let me see that." So I was looking at, like, the PDPs. They have the basic models, and I was thinking about grabbing a couple of those. And then they have, like, the ones with the full send trigger and the magwell, and I was like, okay, like if I'm gonna get one, I'm gonna get a nice one. And then they had one with a threaded barrel, and it's like, okay, like the match one's fine. I don't want a 5-inch gun. Like, give me the 4.5-inch gun, optics ready or whatever. So the criteria: couldn't have a dedicated optics footprint because optics are changing and we're not settling on a footprint. We
Hmm.
thought the Delta Point footprint was dead. It's come back. The RMR footprint, even though it's too wide for 90% of the slides, guess what, kids? It's still kicking around. Like, we have all these things and they're not going away. So I was like, all right,
That Hollow
modular.
Sun 407 comp, man. I am an impressed person. That's a cool dang comp, and I'm not a big Hollow Sun fan.
Yeah, like they're good, and the Vortex Defenders are fantastic. They have great looking dots. So anyway, I'm going in,
Oh yeah.
and I handle a PDP, and like I've owned a PDP before, and I was just like, oh yeah, like I remember this. Like, it's very blocky, not very svelte, very tall. Trigger's nice or whatever. It's like, all right. So I handle that for about 5 minutes. Let me see the echelon again. Have the echelon, mess around with that. Feels great, whatever. It's like, okay. And then I'm like, let me see. The third option was the CZ-P10. And they have that new P10C ported down there. And I was just
Oh,
like, let me handle the ported. And this is like a $530 gun. And like I handle that thing, the P10C, it's felt, it's got great texture, it has a great trigger. It's absolutely like this. I was like sitting there thinking like, okay, like I would like this P10C ported pistol without the chunk port at the end. Like I would like two. I would like a regular one and then one with the chunk port. But then the one with the chunk port is not really a backup because you can't back it up if you shoot a match with it ever because you can't take the barrel and put it into the standard gun, and you can't really take the slide and put it over into the other gun because a lot of these, they're crowned barrels at the end, and then they also have the barrel cut and the slide cut,
right.
so you can't, they're not made to, it's a completely different barrel profile that you
Well,
have on
you
both of
also
them.
have to remember, and I take it, I've heard it on good authority that compensators in 9 millimeter are stupid, and people who use them are stupid. In rifles, they're okay because rifle you need to tame the recoil, but in a pistol, there's no recoil to tame, and so you shouldn't really need a compensator in a pistol.
You don't
I
need
think that's how I think that's how it goes.
I don't think you need a compensator in a pistol, but the one thing is like the port, like whatever. It's a 4-inch barrel with a port. Like you pump, like if you want the most inaccurate spicy 115 grains ever to get that thing working, you can do it. The nice thing was all the texturing and the slide milling and all, like this is a sporty pistol, and I held it and I was like, this is
Yeah.
great. And then I sat there and I looked at it, I was like, all right, like I have a million HK VP9 P30 magazines. Let's look at a
This is
VP9.
called foreshadowing,
Yeah,
kids.
so I get a VP9L, and like here's a VP9 right here. Like I got it, brass grip, brass magazine extension. My one problem with the VP9 that we've had is that when they were coming out with it, they started undercutting these trigger guards on like the P30s. And so when you have the magazine release, you normally use your index finger. Well, it's really far back for me to get to and to press down, and I really have to shift my grip to get it.
Mm.
And it's not very good on this side either.
You can't do it with your thumb. I don't know
It's
the gun very well. Oh yeah, you really can't.
so it's neither feast nor
You
foul,
basically have to
feast or
be like a
foul.
left-hander and do the flip
If
drop
you
kind
if
of
you
dumbness that it sucks.
if it was wider, then you could
Yeah.
possibly get to it a little bit better. But like I had a VP9 for, I've had it for 2 or 3 years, and like I was shooting it in USPSA. I had a Walther PDP and this gun at the same time, and when I chose to sell one, I sold the PDP. I kept the VP9. Like, very accurate, super
Good call.
reliable gun.
It's a great gun.
And so then I go there and I'm like, listen, do you have a VP9B? And he goes, let me go look in the back. And they have a VP9B. They don't have a L. They have a standard like this, but it's a B. And all a B is they put a standard American magazine release right there. And I
Is the
said,
B for button kind of thing?
yeah, B for button. B is for you stupid Americans, fine. That's what the B stands for. You dumb Americans, fine. And so he goes in there and he gets a standard VP9B model out, and I grab it and I'm like, I like the way it feels. I press the magazine release, the magazine pops out, I put it in, I press it again, and it's just like this is what I want. Like what I want. This was 90% here. Most of the time, this is what I want. And so I'm like, okay, I want I want the full send optics ready competition model. HK has released the VP9A1s. They don't have a B magazine release, and they do not make the L, which is the long size 5-inch optics ready one with the all important O-ringed barrel on the L. On the L model, they have the O-ring barrel, and so I was like, I want a full send one with the L, and then they didn't have one or whatever in that, and so I start looking online, and then I'm just like, oh my gosh, they still make the VP9L, but they've discontinued the B models, and so I'm just like, okay, all it is a push button and a frame. If the frame breaks, frame's broken anyway. There's plenty of push buttons on the HK web store. I don't know anybody who's worn out a magazine release, and so we're just gonna find one. So I found one. I found the one on the internet from guns.com, and so I purchased the VP9L-B, and then I went over to the fine people at Athena and CNC Pros Athena plates. I was looking at plates, and then I was like about to buy an EGW plate or an HK plate, and I'm like looking at the materials, aluminum, and then I'm just like, screw this. So I go to Athena, I pay the $70. Boom, steel Delta Point / Vortex Defender plate for it, and so it's all set. It's all coming. I have magazines. I have holsters. I have extensions. I have all that lovely stuff, and I have it in a VP9.
How the hell is it, dude? How the hell is it that they have a plate for the HK, but they don't have a plate for the CZ P10?
I
I don't get
this
that.
is this was one of the things that I was kind of with the P10, because the P10 is very affordable and it has a fantastic reputation. Like, it's replaced the USP for the German Bundeswehr. Like the P10s,
Mhm.
and here's the other thing that kind of swayed me when I was making my decision about the P10C and the P10, is that the P10C is a fantastic pistol. It's very well developed. The P10F has very little support. Like the F
Hmm.
for
Interesting.
holsters and stuff like that. Like the F has less support. Like if I wanted a P10C accessories or whatever like that, I could get it. But like the F just kind of seems like weird. Like trying to find like magazine base plates or whatever like that. I just
The
I
magazines are super easy for the P10F because they're PO9
the PO9, yeah.
mags. So that's perfect. That's a great, like 100% totally support of that. As far as the holsters, yeah, I haven't looked at holsters, but to be honest, I have that kind of the tier 1 concealment or whatever, that you can put a TLR1 weapon light on there, and then
And throw it,
it
yeah.
fits inside there, and I'm like, cool, that absolutely works for what I want to do with it. It's that I mean, that's probably the nicest thing about that holster, is that if you have a TLR1 and your gun will support it, you now can carry that gun if you were so inclined. You don't have to get 27 holsters, which as a lefty is actually a big frickin' thing.
Yeah. Well, and I don't like shooting with the light on if I'm going to compete with it. The P10F, the one thing with the P10 is like you can get an F. You could find some stuff. You could find more stuff for the C, but I really like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
C, and I didn't really like the F.
yeah.
So it's just
No,
kind of like,
I actually I agree with you, dude. I mean, I think the P10C, the PO7, the Glock 19, all of the compact guns out there, I have found that I like the way that they sit in my hands. I actually shoot them really, really well. In some cases, better than the full size variant. I know I shoot a Glock 19 better than I shoot a 17. Go figure. I don't understand that one, but I legitimately shoot that gun really, really well.
yeah.
It's kind of just a weird thing.
If I was kind of like, all right, let's get a brace of P10s. Let's get a ported one for carry, and just because
Yeah.
shit's dope. Like the P10C ported for like $550, like full retail, like that thing is sweet. That is a cool
Yeah.
gun. And they have the new ones that come with the koa on top of them. like a P10C ported with a Koa, like that's a pretty choice
What's
blaster.
a Koa?
The Aimpoint direct milled, the
Oh,
what? So
hmm
they have those. And I was like, look, it's like, man, what I would like is I would like a magazine extension that fits the 15 round magazine that gets me up to like 22 or 23. But the magazine extensions are made for the 19 round factory magazines and
right.
then extend out. So,
Does
anyways,
anybody make them that you know of?
I couldn't. I was looking. I saw like Springer Precision made some magazine extensions, and other people have it. But that's the deal. Is like the P10. It's like if you get a PDP, I can go to Henning for base pads. I can go 6 different places for holsters. I can get guide rods and all that other stuff. Everything I need, optics plates for that. And then even though the P10 is a much more affordable gun and is probably just as good as a shooter as a lot of those, the market support's pretty low. And like you're saying, like Tom, you just bought an HK VP9. It's just like, yeah, but like I got like Taylor Freelance makes a bunch of stuff. The HK web store has a bunch of stuff, and then I already have a shiz ton of magazines for the thing. The only thing I needed to support this VP, to support a VP9L, was like literally an optics plate. And
Hmm
so, and the fact that you can pay $1,000 for a handgun and they can't send you some optics plates, like the P10,
Yeah,
the P10C, like
I've never understood that. Send me the damn plates.
yeah, just send you the plates. Just send you the plates with it. I know CZ has some, and those are steel plates, but
Hmm
weren't they saying like they didn't want to make those anymore, or they wanted to pass the buck off of those, or they couldn't keep them in stock, or something like that?
I don't know. I just know that if you can find them, buy them because they're hard to keep in stock. And so usually when you find them, it's the European companies that are housing them.
Yeah,
I mean, CZ is a whole lot more popular there, which is weird to think about that. But CZ is like super popular in Europe. But I don't know. So when do you get it?
it'll probably ship tomorrow. I'll
Sick.
probably have the optic on it, and I'll probably put the Vortex Defender ST or my favorite optic, my tan 6MOA Delta Point. Like whatever magic makes me like that optic so much, for whatever processing, looking at the dot on something, the 6MOA Delta Point with the clear dot, even though it sucks batteries, like there's no tomorrow.
It doesn't. It
If you
doesn't.
if
It
you
doesn't suck batteries. I
if
don't
you
think. I mean,
if you
if
carry
you want to,
if you carry it like Robert, if you're like I'm gonna go practice and you put it in your backpack, then you take your backpack to work, and maybe I've never done this. Maybe you drive for a living, and there's this little vibration the entire time, and the shake awake the shake awake, the auto
right?
off doesn't kick on. There's two optics I know just eat the batteries. Like that one will eat it, and then the Steiner MPS. This thing has a 13-hour auto shut off,
Wow.
because if the auto shut
Wow.
off is not on, it lasts about 4 months. And then so there's
And I guess for me that there I kind of look at it from the perspective of the a CR 2032 is like you can buy a 4 pack for say $5, so they're $1 a piece. Um, and the Delta Point specifically is one of the easier batteries to trade
the
out.
easiest.
And you just like pull the little thingy, plop, put a new one in, easy as can be. And when I had Delta Points, a lot more, I would just change them on the monthly because they were so easy to change, whether I needed them or not.
Yeah.
Because you just and so I have found to the degree the battery is easy to change, I will change them substantially more. The Trichicons are a pain in the ass, and I don't like changing them. So, like, by gosh, they're going to run all the way out. I'm not touching those
I took
things.
an RMR off a gun and I still didn't change the battery, and it was already off the gun.
Yeah, yeah. It's not
freaking,
worth it to me. But
the Delta Point's great.
I really like what Loophole did with that 6 MOA. They took their lumps. They had some problems with the what was it, the 2 or the 2.5 3 MOA one, but they fixed them. And the 6 MOA, it was a gorgeous dot. I mean, it's still one of my most favorite dots. The Vortex Venom or whatever that thing was that you had that was a 6 MOA was probably the best looking dot I ever saw in my life. but that delta point was right up there.
Yeah, the first generation of 6 MOA dots were.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. I mean,
It was great on glass and everything, and you're just like, listen, I've only had to send it back 3 times. It's
well, no, that's the
fantastic.
thing. The dot looked great, right? It was just
Yep.
unreliable. It was horribly unreliable. If you put it on a non-reciprocating slide, they actually seemed to last. They just couldn't hold up to the slide
Yep.
moving.
But now they're great.
And so,
Now
oh yeah,
the delta point's great, and the vortex is not Trigicon yet, but they're still working. Anyways, Robert, let's talk about what you did.
I shot. So we had a couple matches this week, but the one that was really interesting, that had a lot going on, was the Saturday match at Slipsa. There, so it was a fun match. I had a lot of problems with magazines, which is really unusual. I had come to find out that the follower that was in the magazine actually had cracked and broken. So I had 2 stages, and I didn't notice it until the second one, where it had broke, and I did the malfunction clearing and everything like that, and I finished the stage. I come back and I'm sitting there, I'm holding the thing, and I'm kind of like shaking it, and there is something rattling around inside. And I'm like, how did a rock get in there? Because I didn't actually drop this on the ground.
So not the top half of the follower that you can see, but underneath the follower.
No, the actual the follower, the little surfboard, that the bullets sit on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, so I just start stripping all the bullets out, and then like half of the follower is sitting there. I'm like, and then it's like, okay, that's weird. And then I turn it over, and then there falls out the other side of the follower, and so I'm like, well, shit. And so that was 2 stages, but I almost ND'd the gun yesterday, and that kind of freaked me out. We had this stage, so you start. It was a J stage, so you had a wall in a J shape, and you started out, and you draw to this open target, take a step over, and behind a barrel you shoot another target, and then you're backing up on it. The problem is I backed up too close to the wall, so that when I turn around, my finger is off the trigger on the turn, and I'm really good about keeping my finger out of the trigger. But what happened is when the gun hit the wall, and it actually caused the barrel or the gun to actually push in, so it's like my finger's like inside the trigger.
Yeah.
As I'm turning around, and in that split second moment, I feel my finger like starting to close down on that trigger, and it was everything I could do to like stop moving and not let my finger. It really, honestly, it kind of freaked me out, and so like I got back to where I was, and I presented to the next target, and the gun was off because it was a thing, but I got it fixed, finished the stage. But that was, I mean, like I don't move around with my finger on the trigger, and to actually have the gun, because I move like this, so my finger is well outside, but it's not like high up on or anything like that, but it's well outside. But to actually have that gun twist into it, that weirded me out. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean I don't think I go down with it kind of parallel with the trigger guard. I just remember Masada you when I would do the instructions. He'd have it like up here, and then he would make the demonstration that if you have a flat finger, you can kind of turn it in the hand, but if you just kind of have a slight curve in your trigger while it's indexed on the frame, like the amount of force it actually takes to shift the gun in your hand exponentially goes up. And so it's always been kind of a safe thing, or a natural resting position for me is not straight, just kind of curved. You watch it on the YouTube, just kind of resting up and curved, and then I just drop it back into the trigger guard when I need to fire.
And I think I'm actually pretty similar to what you just said, because Lance had taken a video of me, or taken a picture of me.
Yeah, it's high up.
I was doing, and my fingers, it's up there. It's not floating in there, and that's a common reload for me. I don't know if it was just one of those things where just the combination of hitting the wall and it drove itself into it. But that was wild. And then we had a stage. So last week was a great match. It was really good. It was the stages were fantastic. And Slipsa, as a rule, whenever we have a really, really good match, the match director gets it in his head that he needs to fuck that up. And so what he did was he said, okay, how do we take this great match and turn it into something horrible? And he says, brother, I got you. He designed this stage. It was a bonus stage where you had your shooting box, and then 25 yards down at the end of the bay, there was a single target where the purpose of the stage was to draw, put 2 shots into the body, do a reload, and then only 1 shot into the head. And this was Virginia scoring, so you could only fire 2 shots and then 1 shot. And you're like, okay.
What's the bonus?
Well, the bonus was like
it's just an extra stage.
It's an extra stage. In other words, we got through the match so efficiently last time that we need to slow it down. People, we don't want people to think that they can show up to a match, have a good time, and go home at a good time. We want them to have a 2-squad backup, because if they have a 2-squad backup, they won't be so uppity next time. That's how they think.
Well, here's the thing. What you need to have is like a 15-second stage before the stage, which is going to take 3 seconds per shooter. And then you're going to think, well, it's not going to take any time because it's a fast stage. But that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, and I that's the thing, right? I mean, so when you have stuff like this, the good part is the match director and the range master will come through and they'll look at it and be like, hey, this is not going to actually work, and that's the whole point of the match director, except for our match director and range master doesn't know how to do anything like that. So that's mildly suboptimal. But it was such a uniquely bad stage that we, at one point the day before on Friday, there was a 2-squad backup on it. And so that caused them to go and actually bring in dedicated ROs to run that stage. You had to shoot this stage and then immediately walk over to the classifier stage, which was kind of like BS. Like, hey, I just bombed this stage. And you're like, well, how bad could you have bombed it? Out of 170 people that shot this match, 108 zeroed the stage. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's just bad. But the match director, he's like, in his infinite wisdom, he's like, yeah, that was fun. Let's do that again. Like, no, don't do that again. But it was fun. The match was good, right? Take that stupid stage out of it. It was a gorgeous day. I mean, we had a great squad, and so I'm petty. I get it. But it was dumb. There was no reason to do it.
I mean, that sounds like an IDPA match kind of stage.
Well, ironically, the match director is an OG IDPA guy, and he's trying to make everything into IDPA. So, and you see that happen. Everything has to be prescribed to a T.
I
can't come up with stages that are just like, go shoot the stage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some aspects of IDPA that would be fun to start seeing in USPSA. Definitely like car and prop stages and stuff like that. Like, I mean, people would like to do kind of things. I think we're like shooting in cars, getting out, carrying this briefcase here or there. Like, there's a lot of fun aspects you could have with USPSA and those things. But yeah, having being dictated about everything. It's like we have classifiers for that, and that's that.
Yeah.
So,
but such as it is. And so, yeah, it was good. It was a good match. It was fun.
All right. Well, what else is great is Dominate Defense. I mailed Jason something this week. Something from the archives, the Tom Nelson archives. I sent him. It'll be good for everybody.
Only feet.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's it. With the big toe missing. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off your order if you want to hang what you think is a perfectly safe firearm off of a belt. There's no better belt to do it. Best competition belts, best tactical belts, American Operator, your Dominate Defense. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off your order. Also, head on over to W74 Guide Rods. You can get yourself a tungsten guide rod. You can get yourself some weighted batteries. I have some weighted batteries in this bad boy. And little nose heavy.
It's a chunky monkey now.
I think I got a VP9 up to, like, with weighted batteries. I think I got it up to like 46 ounces.
I still think the funniest thing, and I'm never gonna let it go. that when the Shadow 2 came out, everybody gave so much grief about it being just this heavy, and then you start making it heavier and heavier and heavier, and everybody's like, "No, no, you don't need a gun." And then slowly but surely, under the cover of darkness, people are like, "Oh, I just put a brass butt plug into it. Oh, I just put brass grips on it. Oh, I just put weight in the battery, and then the guide rod.
Yep.
It all gets there. It all comes around to the idea that, more weight makes the gun do things easier.
I would say in the balance of this is like a tungsten guide rod, and then this on the VP9 you have the Taylor
Yeah,
freelance backstrap. The only thing I don't like about these things is like I use large side panels and a large backstrap. Like on whatever the biggest configuration is on the handgun is generally what I liked. That's what I was thinking about the Echelon, because you can get
that's why you liked the Gen 3 so much.
the Gen 3 was fantastic.
Like, perfect for you.
Yeah, just felt great. But anyways, that's a good configuration for a VP9. But find out what your configuration. Just buy the catalog, get it shipped to you, and then figure it out from where, and then don't return anything. Promo code PARA10W74. And Rune Tactical, get a +1. Make your 22s 23, your 23s 24, and have a magazine, at least one, if not a couple magazines, set up for those situations where you need extra magazine capacity for those stages, or just because you don't want to reload anymore. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off your order at Rune Tactical. And new sponsor, was it Lance Peters? He's got this t-shirt shop. It's a Weekend Gunner.
They're sun hoodies, and
There's
they're actually awesome because, if for no other reason, they're colorful. It's strictly from the perspective of a photographer. There is nothing better than you take a picture of somebody at a match or something like that, and they have just bright colors on, because the colors pop. It makes them look really cool. Everything just like looks better. And I'm very selfish when I say that I actually like his sun shirts more than like anything else out there, just for that reason, because they're all very bright and colorful. That's like, never mind the fact that they're great. You don't get sunburns. You don't get any of that
no
stuff.
sunburns. They stay
Yeah.
cool. They moisture wick. They got a big hoodie on them. Like, and I have a Hurley one, but it's not made by somebody who's actually spending their entire life shooting USPSA.
Yeah.
Like Weekend Gunner, check him out. Use promo code. I don't even know if there's a promo code. Use promo code Lord
If
Have
you're
Mercy
actually
for 12% off.
if you're local to Salt Lake, he does have one. It's called Local Pickup, and it'll just take the shipping off of it. I do know that because I've bought a few of them in the past, and Local Pickup will actually take the shipping off of it, and he'll just bring it to you. Pretty cool.
But for the rest of you, have it shipped. Have it shipped.
Yeah.
Don't
be a loser.
Weekend Gunner. Anyways, Telegram. You can ask us questions. We'll do our best to answer them. Robert.
Let's see. From Chris, can you talk about putting two short stages on one bay? If one of those stages has multiple strings, that bay will take much longer than a single 32-round field course. This is absolutely true. I do this every single week.
I think what did we have? The last time I saw this and it was almost not retarded was Magnus. When we went down there and shot that, they had down in St. George, they had two stages side by side, and both of them were like 8-round stages.
Mhm.
One of them was shoot, retreat, go prone, shoot, and then you would go to the next one. And listen, I know people want to shoot prone, but if I have to go prone one more time in my shooting career and bounce my testicles and my penis off of a piece of brass that's sticking straight up, I'm not doing it. I'm not, like, it's not comfortable.
I was taking the procedural.
Like, it's just like could we find another place that's not jagged gravel with brass sticking up? And most of the brass is sticking up because the heavy part of the brass is on the bottom. And this is what happens. And then you had to stand on a balance beam and shoot like a strong hand, weak hand. It was like a 2-string or 3-string course of fire. And this this kind of already had a backup on it, and this was a half-day match. It was a 3-day match.
Mhm.
One, half day on, half day off, half day on. You worked one. That's what this was, and it still wasn't great. I don't know if there's a way to do it that doesn't make it last incredibly long, because like anytime from when the buzzer goes off to when you're actually done shooting the second stage or the second string or the third string, that entire time in between counts as the run time for the shooter.
So there's a couple ways to think of this. You're absolutely right. If you have a multiple string stage, or like a two string stage, um, that's functionally two stages in the way that it works. Then that's always the way it is. So the way that you would address that is so let's say left and right. The right is the two string, like a classifier or something like that. What you need to do is you need to make your left side stage, if they're in the same bay, you're gonna have trouble that, because you're trying to like keep the match flow at the same basic pace. But if it's in the same bay, then it doesn't matter, because they're just gonna wait for you. Where I have the two bays at the armory, how we address it is one of the stages on the rifle bay is a 24 round field course. The other one in the tac bay would be the classifier. And so 24 rounds versus two strings, that evens itself out really, really well.
Yeah.
What we did this week, and we tried this at Zach's concealed carry match, and then we did it again this week, and it worked insanely well. Was if you purchase USPSA targets and IPSC targets, you can set all of them up across the entirety of the bay from one end to the other. And then you can actually use the same walls, and you can use the exact same walls, and say the IPSC squad 2, you shoot the IPSC starting on the right. Squad 1, you shoot the USPSA starting from this position. It works stupidly well.
So is this
And
like,
what that
as far as the stage, like if we use this, could you use this at a match and be legal?
it was legal. It was 100% legal, because the USPSA guys are just shooting the USPSA targets, and the IPSC guys shooting theirs.
Yeah.
But it gives you a 24 round, a 20 and 24. I think that's what we had, like 20 and 24 round field course, and it allowed us to use the entirety of it, and people were able to run in and out. And I was really nervous about it, and so I was talking to people all throughout the match. I was like, "What do you guys think?" And they're like, "We love it. It lets us get a lot more shooting in." But one guy, was it Josh, actually made the comment. He's like, "I like this because I now have to, like, my mental game has to be checked in, so that I know that I'm shooting the USPSA targets,
Yeah.
instead of, I see brown, I gun it down kind of attitude." But it worked extremely well. And then over on our rifle bay, or excuse me, on our tac bay, we had it was 2503. It was a classifier, and then I actually I had to build another stage there. So it was just a small field course, but it was 10 target. It was a total of 10 shots, 5 targets. And the way that I set it up was we were up against the right-hand side wall, but I took and I made the shots so that you could take a shot all the way across the bay into what would have been 2503's bay, but you couldn't see it from 2503. It wasn't going to get in the way like a shoot through or anything like that. And it takes a little bit more work on the setup side, but it allowed you to use the entirety of even that smaller little tac bay, because the tac bay is just a little bit smaller than the rifle bay. Worked really, really well.
Yeah.
The biggest thing you have to work with is just you have to have IPSCs and USPSA targets. I was over the moon that it worked as well as it did. I was very apprehensive, but Zach had tried it at a CCW match, worked really, really well. Lance did it on one of his matches, and I think it's an absolute. If you're running an indoor match, set it up sometime, because it was fun, we actually got through the same amount of time. It wasn't like we had a big backup or anything like that. Everything just seemed to flow really, really well, and people seem to enjoy it. And that means that you can do something more than just the typical 8 to 12 round short courses. You can get away with doing a lot more. It's kind of fun.
It'd be interesting of what you could do like on an actual, if you could do this on an actual, like you have this concept like on a level 2 match or something like that.
I don't see why you couldn't.
Like that would be kind of fun, and it would kind of like you could literally have a go forward version of a stage with
Hmm.
USPSA targets, and then have a retreat version of the stage, and like there could be farther shots
Yeah.
on the
Oh yeah.
IPSC targets, and there could be closer shots on the
Uh huh.
USPSA targets, and as long as you're not shooting through, you know, some you would have different arrays for the way that you were running the stage, and so like
Yeah.
you could essentially, if you did that on a 2 short courses or medium courses, and could plan it out in a way like next to a sponsor bay or something else like that, that you could
Hmm.
squeeze in an extra stage of shooting. And the other part of like that is like, they would act like 2 different stages. The turnaround, the squad rotation would kind of be the same, but if you had the bay to do something like that, that would be amazing.
You could do that. I mean, I'm just thinking of like, I mean, just what you're saying, right? So you have a forward and retreat, and instead of it being two strings, it's two stages. I mean,
Yeah.
stage one is the USPSA push shoot all the targets going forward, and once you get to there, string stage two, shoot all the targets going back, but those are IPSCs.
Yeah, and they don't even have to be in the same arrays or stacked next to each other or whatever like that. Like they can still be
Yeah,
different arrays. They're just going to be
you.
different targets. And so like you could do, I mean, you would eat another set of target stands that do it like that. And people could be creative and put IPSCs in front of USPSA targets almost as um, no shoots or something like that. But you know it would just be
Yeah,
counted
yeah,
as a mic or something like
yeah.
that. But
Well, no, they have to match. So your no shoot would have to be a no shoot USPSA would have to be a
no,
USPSA
yeah,
target. But the one thing I had thought about, I don't have the height. So I like my berm goes back at a 45. I don't have the height to be able to put a USPSA on top and an IPSC on bottom. That was kind of my initial thought.
yeah.
Just have them like top and bottom kind of thing. So you shoot them at different. But if you were an outdoor match, you could definitely have some more options to get away with that. And no, dude, that's actually a great idea. You could do that,
Well,
and it functionally does become two stages. It's two strings by another name, but it's something more creative than just do the same thing over and over again.
like I know like you see some of these rifle pistol matches or whatever, and they have the 2 different targets for rifle and then one for pistol. But like you could literally
Right.
run the same thing. Just the first stage is rifle, the second stage is pistol, and then
Yeah.
just kind of run it as 2 different stages or something else like that. But yeah, you could do a bunch of it. Like I mean, you're going to need a match director and a and a
You're gonna need people that are intelligent.
you're going to need people who are willing to try it and to see how it works, and then you also need to do the squad timing, because this, it should score like a regular stage. It should do that, except for the downtime in between stage moving would be relatively
If you did
fast.
if you did your idea of uh, USPSA downrange IPSC coming back up, that would essentially be two strings. But if you had two squads sitting on one bay, it still acts. It still functionally acts as two strings because you shoot, reset
Yeah.
in that regard. So it takes a little bit longer, and that's actually the thing I have to deal with the indoor matches. I'm always thinking about timing and match flow because I need tack bay to be finishing at the same time rifle is finishing, so that you can create the swap. And this one, funny enough, Thursday, um, the it was basically squad 3 and 4. They were so much faster. They were standing around while 1 and 2 because, and this just happens sometimes. Squad 3 and 4 had, I think both of the squads had like 3 or 4 no shows, and so it was just like, well, shit, I can't solve that. If I had more time, maybe I would have tried to like load balance it a little bit, but sometimes that just happens. Usually they're just right. They're perfect. It works fine, and so but Chris, I was over the moon. How happy that actually worked out. I think we're absolutely going to do it. I polled everybody and was like, "Would you want to do this again?" They're like, "Yes, this is a winning solution. Let's absolutely do this." And so, you can in a small way make a lot of cool things happen
Yep.
just by using different targets. Let's see from Rory. How do you remove ego from stage design? For example, how do you make something other people want to shoot versus something just you want to shoot?
No, it's literally the point of ego in anything. Like, like how do I not take offense to what I'm doing because you wanted to do it in the first place? Like because you thought
Yeah,
it was a good idea, and then if people don't like it, you think it's a bad idea. The thing is, like, you're very everyone's a very fallible person, and like you have to learn, and like sometimes you're going to do something like Robert's talking about, and we'll try it like on a big stage on 100-yard bay. We'll do it, and it'll just be an absolute train wreck and a disaster. But
mhm.
man, it sounded like a good idea at the time. And then you just go like, what are the solutions? Can't handle it. Are these solutions? Can we implement these solutions? And if not, we just go like, well, we tried. And so the one thing is about with the ego and all that stuff like that, and being worried about it, it's just like you don't think about it as people hating you, just thinking about yet as you have to be somewhat teachable. And more people are blunt because they don't have tact, when they're trying to teach you. But like sometimes it's
My
good that
mom was
people.
nice. She just said I don't have a filter.
But so like unless people are tactless, like it doesn't break through the ego for you to want to change it. And so like you know you do your best, you take your licks, and you go like, okay, well, like just be teachable.
If you can build a stage, and Dirk Hopkins is one of my most favorite stage designers ever, and Slipsa was dumb for running him off. But when Dirk first started out, he built some stinkers of stages, but he learned, and they got better, and they got better, and they got better, and then towards the end, Dirk was building just fantastically wonderful stages, and they were always these unique little like, what the hell was he thinking stages? But then you shoot it, and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
shooting through that barrel, that pivoting barrel was really pretty freaking fun,
well, like
and that's
the
the trick, right? Do something fun.
the origin the original like Dirk Hopkins, like 20 maybe 2019, 2021, somewhere around there, barrel stage, which was an
Mhm,
absolute like burning Hindenburg train wreck. We had bullets ricocheting going back. We had barrel strikes happening all the time. We had reshoots like crazy. And then like so it was like a memory stage as well. And like it was a hard time. We had a lot of reshoots and stuff like that. I remember Yemen helping down there, trying to get people
mhm.
through. We ended up having like 3 or 4 ROs on the stage. And then the next year he came back with barrels, but it was way better, and it ran smooth, and it was just a pain in the ass memory stage, but it ran better and it worked. And it's just like not every part of the idea is bad, but like cut the cut the deformed dead flesh off of it and try to live on. And then like that, Dirk's a perfect example. I mean, we had 3 years of barrel stages, or I think maybe even 4 years of barrel stages, and you know what? They all worked except for the first one. And the first one, he caught a lot of shit. Like, I mean, there was a lot. No one came away from that saying it ran great. It was the funnest stage, and like it was my best stage, and I loved it. But like,
Yeah, if you have to survive a stage, it wasn't a good stage.
if the match had to survive a stage, like yeah. So
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of the way you look at it, is like, build something fun, learn from your lessons, and but still build the things you want. I mean, 90% of the times people build stages at matches, it's because it's something they're trying to work on. And that's what gives them the inspiration to build the stage in the first place. But if you're out there, you're willing to learn, and it's hard, dude, because there's a part of me that in is like, these people are out there, they're building these stages in their free time, and if you don't like it, shut the F up and just deal with it,
yeah,
because they're doing this thing. There's that part of me. There's the other part of me that's like, um, you're the match director. and the range master, and you should know better than this. And I can't believe they actually, let you become this.
Well,
Stop doing dumb things. I may be petty.
I'm very, very well. I'm not very critical of stage and stage designs. Like besides safety, I'm not very critical. I grew up shooting UDPL outlaw matches, IDPA matches, LTD for USPSA for a long time, and like Slips is a very well produced. I think you
Yeah.
guys can hear it in this podcast. Slips is a very well produced USPSA club, and it's a very large club. The kind of the issue is now it's like the running of opinions about what is so fantastic and what is not fantastic and what should be done. Like it's really becoming let's badger about pet peeves about how stages are designed and the club is run and what kind of iPads we should get and do we have like this is like literally this is people trying to plot the murder of their former son-in-law because they don't want to have to share custody. Like this is
Wait,
this
wait,
is
wait, wait. Are you saying I can get rid of this guy?
I'm saying you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying the judge might tell you to shut up and he might put you in prison for another 25 years.
Message
Patreon.
received.
Patreon. So like we're starting to have a battle of pet peeves and like running people out for criticism over what we think they should have possibly done that was maybe in my mind 4 to 5% better.
That's true.
And it's like
That's fair.
you cannot nothing will survive that level of scrutiny. Unless you are compelled to do it, nothing survives that level of scrutiny. And like you won't survive that level of scrutiny doing that to yourself. Like nothing does that because nothing can stand in the light of that kind of like perfecting eye. Like you can't do it. So it's like plenty of great organizations can have this. Shaq and Kobe didn't get along. Like there's a lot of that stuff that happens, and like all of a sudden these minute things are just like, well, if they gave a crap, they wouldn't put a Mozambique stage in. If they cared, we would, stick with whatever platform. We would get these timers, but nobody cares. We should, it just there's a match. It's well attended. People are not shooting themselves in the foot with CZ Shadow 2s, even though we're trying. Like we're like don't let perfection be the enemy of the good.
That's a good point. No, that's valid, right? That's good. All right. Okay. I'll be better for this week. Mostly because there's no match. Last question. What is the best sci-fi gun?
Oh, the best sci-fi gun. I know people want to hear the pulse rifle from Aliens. But the original Halo pistol is by far the greatest combat implement ever devised. A slightly larger than 50 Action Express pistol with a zooming dot, infinite accuracy, and a 12-round magazine. And if you hold the trigger down, it'll disperse rounds at like 120 rounds per minute. Just easy, steady fire. And you could lay waste, and all you needed in Halo was a plasma pistol and the regular human pistol. You could headshot, you could drop elite shields, one-shot hunters. Like it's perfection.
Yeah.
It is perfection. People are talking about like you can go into like anime, you go to like Trigun, all this other stuff. There's cool designs. Pulse rifle's cool, smart gun's cool, all this other stuff like that. But if I'm sitting there and they said like, "Hey, this is going down," I was like, "Give me like 30 mags and one of those Halo 1 pistols, and that's all I need." It's the best one.
I've always loved Firefly, and I actually found out the name of it today, but I've always wanted Mal's gun, which was called the Liberty Hammer, and it was a worked over Taurus 85 for the prop, right?
Yeah.
But I just think that was just one of the coolest guns ever. I just love that gun. And having said that, Tommy, you're actually right. Your gun's better.
I
It is. It was that was the best gun. It
I
really was.
I've stopped playing Halo for a long time, but like all the other guns that I sit there and I think about all like the video games and stuff I did were just like real guns, just put in the video game. Like
Yeah.
and then like some of the like if you like look at like the 1980s anime or early 1990s anime when they're actually trying to take real guns and put them in there,
Hmm.
and like you got to think about like the autism that's going into these people, like hand drawing like a Sig 226 and them or a CZ75 and them like taking them apart, and it's like these people are in Japan. Like these people don't have the internet.
Oh yeah.
These people don't own the guns. These people are like
Huh.
going it's from a reference and then drawing these perfect references. It's
The best they
fantastic.
have is probably like a movie or something like that. They could even see it in.
Oh yeah, and then like maybe some prop works or something that they could possibly get something like one of these on. But it's pretty interesting. And anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to remind you that you should probably get a pistol with a firing pin block. I'm saying I'm not,
Don't do it.
I'm just saying that if something happened this week, most likely
I'm just,
a firing pin block would have stopped it if
I'm
it
just
wasn't
I'm
done.
just saying the firing pin block doesn't stop when you go and pull the trigger.
It doesn't stop when you pull the trigger. But it does stop if you pull the trigger a little bit or it slips off a notch or the firing pin's protruding. Like there's things that a firing block can stop. And I'm just saying I didn't buy a CZP-10C because there's one company on earth that can't. Every company can make a good trigger with a firing pin block.
Well, wait a minute.
One
Wait.
company has
No.
decided.
Wasn't you just saying something about like perfection being the enemy of something or other? Now we're talking 4%, and like now I have to put a firing pin block in.
It's like, yeah, you know what? I take back everything. Whatever. Hey, what is it? I remember it must have been 2009 or whatever. I was down there with doing gun dude stuff back in the day, and we're at the Discount Guns and Ammo down in Provo. And it's one of the first days I met Nick Moyes, who started Utah Gun Exchange and all that stuff. And sitting there talking, and there's this other guy at the gun counter. He's just kind of talking to us. Neither one of us know him, but he seemed like a decent guy. And we were talking to us, and he was a left-handed. Let me set the stage for this gentleman. This gentleman worked in a garage, had a Glock 10 millimeter Model 20 Gen 3. He was left-handed and had built a Serpa leg-mounted holster for his Glock Model 20. And
I mean,
then
you said he's left-handed. You didn't need to continue on say he's retarded.
well, it gets better. And then he's like, we're talking about Glock triggers, and then he takes out and he, has his Glock 20 unloaded, and then he pulls the slide off, and then he goes, if you take this part out here, the trigger's way better. And of course, he had to remove the firing pin block because it does make the trigger way better. So I'm just saying that's some of at least he could put it back in.
I just figured don't drop the gun.
Thanks for downloading, listening, and subscribing. For Robert Wyatt, I'm Tom Nelson. Be in peace, love, and souls. We depart into the open waters of the sea of life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Good night, everybody.